Today, let's discuss a fascinating topic of interest for all of us, happiness. What we'll cover today is the science behind happiness. Let's look at some of the methods to manage happiness, and finally round up with some very practical daily things we can do to improve our happiness levels. Let's start. The brain simulates happiness by two neurotransmitters that it works with, the serotonin and the dopamine. The difference between the two is, one, of course, it acts on different parts of the brain. The serotonin gives you long lasting feeling of contentment and happiness, while the dopamine is more like a reward function where something happens and you suddenly feel very happy. It's a pleasure hormone in a way. There's a big difference between the two. The serotonin and dopamine act usually around 2-3 places in the brain, in the frontal cortex, in the central area, and in the back area. The serotonin you can actually improve in your body by certain food which you eat, namely green leafy vegetables, fruits, lean meat, fish, nuts. All these are boosters of serotonin. The other thing you can do is to spend every day some time in sunlight. And if you are in a place where you don't get enough sunlight, then please take supplements of vitamin D. They are big boosters of serotonin, and you will generally start feeling good after you go out in the sun and coming back. The third thing important is to do some exercise, even if it's about 15 minutes a day, but something that pumps the heart. That's very important for boosting serotonin. So remember these three: food, sunlight, and exercise, boosters of serotonin. When you look at dopamine works differently. It's a reward system. Okay, you do something and after completion you suddenly see this pleasure coming in. Dopamine is a little tricky. You need to know how to use it. Let me first talk about the problems with dopamine. The most easy example for me to give is a smoker. A smoker craves his next smoke, and while he waits to be in a place where he can light up a cigarette, and when he does take the first puff in, the dopamine gets activated in his brain and he feels pleasure. Now the problem with this is the reward is based on you smoking, so every time you don't do it, you feel this being uncomfortable, miserable, till you reward yourself with the smoke. And every time it's connected to something which is not good for you. Say if you are a diabetic and you crave ice cream. Now while you control yourself and you're controlling your diet, you don't want to eat all that, you actually will see a little bit of sadness, and you reward yourself by giving that ice cream to yourself, and then that's a negative spiral. But you can use this dopamine trigger to your advantage if you're aware that this is what happens. Okay, sometimes when you are enduring pain. Okay, so for example, I was going through some intensive training on a particular exercise with my trainer, and he was very pushy. He was pushing me, and there was a lot of pain while I was doing those exercises. And I realized that the only way I could keep going, because I just wanted to give up, I just wanted to say, I can't do it anymore. But the only way I could keep myself going is by telling myself that the reward at the end of it, when I finish it, I'll feel so good, I'll feel so accomplished that I didn't give up. And that picture in my mind kept me going, and when we actually completed, and I felt so, strong, that dopamine kicked in, and I felt that achievement and that pleasure. So you can use dopamine to drive you to do some great stuff, positive stuff. But be careful, it can also drive you to do negative stuff. Okay, so I've seen people get into this addictive behavior, and most addictive behavior is because there is a dopamine craving. Whether it's for cigarettes or for porn or anything else, dopamine is the cause of this. So the dopamine is a subject where you need to be aware what is happening to you, of this pleasure which comes at the fulfillment of what you're doing, and use it to your advantage. Okay, so be very clear about this. At this stage, I want to introduce a term: positive psychology. Positive psychology is a scientific study of what makes life worth living. Researchers in this field focus on understanding factors such as positive emotions, life satisfaction, and overall well-being. It's a quest to unravel the secrets to a happier and more meaningful existence. There are 5 building blocks that enable flourishing: positive emotions, engagement, relationship, meaning, accomplishment. To give you an example of a positive psychology, if suppose you are a creative kind of person, you could decide to do something which brings out your creative side. Say, make a painting, write a blog, write a short story, or if you like to cook, you cook something but in a very new way, using your creativity. You can deepen the impact of this experiment by measuring how you feel immediately after doing all this. You will sense that your feeling of contentment and happiness actually goes up. The other very important parameter on happiness is the quality of your relationship. It's proven from research after research that people who had good relationships were happier and lived longer. It's beyond doubt. Now, what do we need to do? We need to make sure we have a network of family and friends where we could let our hair down, be normal, we laugh with them and everything. It's so important that I can't emphasize enough. You need to, even if you feel, oh no, I want to be alone, but that's the sure short way to die early and unhappily. Create this network. Be in touch with your family. Meet them as often as you can. Find reasons to catch up for a coffee. The other thing about relationships, try and spend more time with those people who are positive in your relationships. Because some you need to spend time, say your family or somebody who you cannot sort of not meet, even if they are normally very negative in their thoughts. But try and spend more time with people who are positive. Positivity rubs off. It's infectious. When you spend time with someone who is always positive about things, who is not always complaining and playing victim, you will find your own level of happiness goes up after that meeting. So, good relationships, good quality relationships, and positive relationships. The other thing which works, it's like a mantra, it will work all the time, is by being grateful. Gratitude. There are a lot of things to be grateful about. Okay, so most people sometimes think their life is the worst and everything bad is happening to them. They're just being stupid. Okay, it's like, it reminds me of that famous exercise where on a big white board they put a black dot in between and they ask the class, what do you see? And everybody notices the black dot. The problem is, because that white board is there and that's big, you just don't notice that. There are a lot of good things in life that's happening to you right now, but you'll only notice those few black spots which are there in your life. Make an effort to list down all the great stuff that's happened in your life, the great moments, the wonderful people you have met. They may not be with you today, but you spent great time with them in the past. They are all treasures. If possible, every night before going to bed, just think of the day and only think of all the good things that happened to you that day. And I'm sure you will find many. And then notice the calmness of the sleep that you get afterwards. Because nothing is powerful than gratitude. You know, it's like, I know two kinds of people who pray at temples or any other place of worship. There is some who keeps asking, can you give me this, can you give me that, to God. And there are others who just go there and say thanks for everything that you've given me already. Now, I don't know how God treats it, but I know what both of them will come out of the temple feeling. One is coming out feeling that they have a lot of wants and hoping God fulfills them. There is another who comes out feeling contented and happy because they are grateful for what God has already given them. So remember, a very important part of happiness is by being grateful. Grateful to the universe for everything that they have done to you. Let me summarize some very practical tips on being happy. 1. Exercise. 15 minutes a day is fine. Don't have to do something very heavy. Just enough to get your blood pumping. 2. Sleep more. Sleep has this repair ability. It repairs all those cells which have burnt out and worn out during the day and makes you fresh and alive the next day morning. Sleep has a huge role in your happiness. Sleep for at least 7 to 8 hours, between say 10 to 6 or 10 to 11 to 7. You will wake up feeling calmer and happier. One of the biggest problems in the city, which I find gets people on the edge early morning, is when they have to travel long distances on work. And in big cities in India, some of the wait time and the traffic and everything put together can be very, very unnerving. Here's a practical tip. Try and move closer to your office and whenever possible work from home. You will find a very different level of contentment and happiness, reduction of stress levels in your life. Spend time with friends and family. Spend more time with positive people. Positive people bring and share a lot of positivity around, and you will see a remarkable change in the level of happiness in your life. Get outside into the open air. Don't stay in the house the whole day. Go out in the daytime. Ideally, a place with a lot of green, nature, and of course, get a lot of sunlight. Vitamin D is a happiness booster. A very easy way to immediately boost your happiness level. Help others. Help others, just help a old woman cross the street and immediately you see a rush of dopamine. It's a reward which comes to you. You suddenly feel good. Do things for others. Do things for others whom you probably will never meet again. Do things for strangers. Be a go-giver. Practice smiling. Not only reduces pain, but it exercises those muscles which feel more relaxing. And you generally feel your mood improving. Force the smile initially, and by the end of the day you will see that you're smiling, you're on your own. Plan a trip. Go on a vacation, even a short one. Go with your loved ones. Go alone. Doesn't matter. In fact, research has shown that even if you don't go on a trip, but just the act of planning to go on a vacation, that whole planning purpose brings so much pleasure. The whole thought is of relaxation, that it uplifts your life and stays that way for a long time. Interesting. Meditate. Don't have to do anything fancy. Some of my earlier videos have explained very simple ways of meditating. Just do that and see how your brain gets rewired towards happiness. Practice gratitude. Thank the Almighty for all the great stuff that's been happening in your life. And if you start looking, you'll find a lot of them. Very good things which has happened to you and you alone. It increases both happiness and life satisfaction. There is another interesting thing which I can vouch for, is that as you get older, the human brain seems to become naturally happier. Why does that happen? I don't think researchers know yet. But I have found in my own case, for example, as I got older, above 45 plus, and started aging beyond that, I found myself staying away from experiences which evoked unhappiness, I could stay out of the drama. I stay out. I hate watching movies or TV serials which has a lot of sadness and sorrow in it. I enjoy watching comedy shows. I'm sure I would love watching Cartoon Network now, but I like to do things, and I find most elderly people do, which don't task their brain to be feeling sorrow, unhappiness. They want to stay away, and it's natural. So as you get older, you will realize that there is this natural tendency to do the right things. Just follow your instinct. Stay away from drama. In summary, happiness is as much a science as much as it's also cultivated habit. You need to know the science behind the happiness. It's a physiological thing. But you also need to know how to manipulate that and keep yourself happy. Try the things which I have talked about in this video. Spread it to others who you feel need to be happy. Happiness is what most people live for, and success at the end of the day is not wealth. It's about how happy you are at finally. Okay, that's what you achieve and go. We don't carry anything from here. So happiness is the ultimate goal. Try all this out. Pass it on. Till the next time we meet, stay happy and stay unstoppable.